They must have heard about this news about the dry run being conducted by India. So I think there are a couple of things that we need to discuss today. Number one, we just finished the festival, the magic of Christmas. I'm sure it will bring good luck for everyone, all citizens of the world. And we have just woken up after a long holiday, and we've celebrated the Christmas. And today we have all heard the news about four states of India coming together, and they are going to start the dry run for giving vaccination. Now, why this dry run is so much publicized and so much talked about? And let me clarify. There are these four states which are coming up, which includes large states like Punjab and also a new state like Andhra. They are actually coming forward and starting the vaccination centers, and basically there will be a doctor, there will be observation room, and there will be a lot of facilities for the COVID patients when they are basically visiting these centers. The facilities which will be available, and since COVID is a new type of disease, and the vaccination is also completely new type of vaccination, and that is why there are special vaccination centers are required. And the government of the four states are now doing the dry run. So why this dry run is so important? Out of these four states, they will be actually conducting dry runs in two districts each. So that means there are eight districts going on the dry run, and they will evolve a method of providing vaccination to the COVID patients. Now, when we say dry run, there is no actual vaccination which is going to be used during this these dry runs. It will be used as a model for learning, which can be replicated across the country once the vaccination starts in month of January. So, dry run will actually give you of what happens in case of emergency. It is sort of a training program, and I think it is very very essential before we start a vaccination. It shouldn't happen that, hey, I've got the vaccination and then there is some complications. So the vaccination center does not have any facility to handle the complication. So by far, all the vaccination providers world over are giving the list of side effects you may have. For example, there are people who are coming out making their videos. Even the uh, very senior people, they are saying that the side effect of the COVID medicine is similar to what you will get while getting the influenza vaccination. So it is very similar. But in case there is an emergency, the after the vaccination, then the patient will be kept in observation for some time. And then if there are some symptoms, those emergencies have to be handled properly. So it shouldn't happen that you go to a vaccination center, vaccination is given, the patient comes home, and then he start developing those symptoms, and then he again rush back to the hospital. So that is why the dry run is very very important. I think it's a very good move by the government of India and the state governments of these four states who are coming out with these, who are volunteering in creating these processes. So today is the launch of the dry run exercise. I think this will continue for some time, and once this dry run is perfected, it will become like a book, and this whole thing will be replicated across the country in all the vaccination centers, which will be set up in month of January before the vaccination drive actually starts. So that is why the preparation of providing vaccination is so important, and the government of India is doing everything by the book to make sure that the citizens of India do not undergo a major problem after getting the vaccination. Now, number two is there are multiple vaccinations which vaccination companies, medical pharmaceutical companies, who have approached the government of India for approval. Now, when we say there is an approval, it is not something which can be approved just like any other license. The approval for any vaccination is a very long drawn process. It involves a lot of data being submitted by these pharmaceutical company, primarily with regard to testing. See, when they develop the vaccination, they have to provide they do testing of their vaccination, how it kills the virus, how it cures the patient, and in the process what happens. So there is a whole lot of documentation which is kept by these vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Those needs to be submitted along with the approval exercise. So we know that from the media only, we have heard that there are few companies who have approached the Indian government, and Indian government have asked them to provide more data. So some of them are the Oxford vaccine, which might be the first one to be given approval. There is one from the Indian Serum Institute that is called Covaxin, which is also undergoing the approval process. Then there is Pfizer one, which is also being considered. So there will be multiple vaccinations possible, um, and all of these vaccinations will have different side effects, different process. For instance, Pfizer one has to be kept in minus 78 degrees. Anything higher temperature will spoil the vaccination. So the operational hazard or operational nightmare to keep that vaccine while giving it to the patient is humongous. It's an operational nightmare. So the vaccination center must have facility to have Pfizer one if they are giving Pfizer one as a vaccination. So I think this dry run is a precursor to what is going to come, and especially in a country like India where there are, the population of 1.3 billion would require vaccination, at least 50% of the population, and that too it's a humongous task. So that means there will be a supply chain behind these vaccination centers, and how the vaccination medicine will reach the centers, and how it will be stored, how it will be administered, and then after the administration of different vaccines, what are their respective side effects. The observation room will then give input to the people who are actually providing these vaccination to the patient. The whole lot of exercise needs to be given to the health workers so that they can take the right decision in case someone develops a side effect. So this is why this news is so important, and I wanted to discuss this not in too much of detail, but these vaccination center dry run is so important. And India is a very aggressive country. They don't want to leave anything unturned, anything unchecked. So they are making sure in next 20 to 30 days, when the actual vaccination drive starts, they want to be prepared. So all the medical staff is fully trained, fully aware of the situation, and they are also geared up to not only get the vaccine and store them, also after administration, in case there are patients who are showing side effects, how do we take care of those anomalies in this. So by and large, most of these vaccination pharmaceutical companies are saying that the side effects are not very severe, but then you never know. In a case of vaccination, it could start from a nausea feeling to mild fever to swelling, and it can be even more severe in certain cases. So that is why the vaccination center should be equipped to handle all these emergencies, just in case if it happens. So far, it is a very rare occurrence, but then no harm in preparing your medical staff, doctors, and nurses to handle the situation. I think this is so important, and that is why dry run is very, very important. Once these eight districts which will undergo the dry run, then probably there will be more rounds of dry run. As we usually talk in our program, that a good practice makes a perfect. So once the vaccination drive starts actually in month of January, the process of administering the vaccination on the patient will be smoothly taken care of, and that is why this is so important. So I'm very, very happy that the Indian government has started this dry run and preparing their medical staff with actually carrying out the vaccination drive, which is again a very huge task in a country like India. So with this, I'll end my discussion today and look forward to getting your comments. Do provide your comments, and we will cover your comments in the next episode of Akulmach Nation. Until then, bye bye.